Nico's going to UCLA. The whole situation's a mess. But you know what? I've got a piece of good news for him.
You are Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin, your daily podcast on all things college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Locked On College Football. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin. Thank you so much for making this your first listen or your first view every day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and your daily source to stay up to date with the biggest stories in this, the greatest sport on planet Earth, for all the craziness that it brings us. Oklahoma did not lose a former five-star. Georgia did add a really important piece for their SEC championship repeating hopes. That's all on today's show, which is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. So here we go. UCLA football tweeted it out. I was waiting for that. Once the Bruins football athletic account tweeted out, I said, okay, Nico to UCLA, it's finally done. It's finally done. This has all been bad for Nico. I have been very right with my opinions on the matter. I'll get to that. Here's the good news for Nico, though. The pressure and stakes that you're going to go into every single Saturday have just been dropped dramatically. I tell you what, you don't have big expectations when you're playing at a school who's the number 2 university athletics-wise in its own town in this sport. Not in other sports, just this sport. This is Locked On College Football, so that's all we will discuss. Nico is going to a situation at UCLA in which he goes from a contender at Tennessee to a rebuilding mess of sorts at UCLA. He goes from a proven offensive mind with a long track record of successful quarterbacks in Josh Heupel to Tino Sinceri. He's a new offensive coordinator. He was brought in because the head coach, who's not the play caller, didn't work out offensively with the last guy he hired, but maybe this is the right one. I do like the hire. I think Sinceri can be good because Cignetti's really good at Indiana. That's where he came from. He was the quarterback's coach. Natural progression. Could be a rising star. That's what Jacob Goins of Locked On Hoosiers thinks. I get it. I fully get it. Here's what I don't get. How Nico's camp thought this was going to work out. Not only are they at UC, like this is the most epic self-own of all time, because Nico's camp first reports they want a bigger NIL deal for $4 million a year. Tennessee says, no, you're sticking with what deal you have based on how you played last season. You were good. You were not great. We're not giving you a whole boatload of cash here. We don't have a Scrooge McDuck vault with gold coins, despite what a lot of people might want to think. And then they said, well, no. It wasn't about the money. Yeah, okay. It was about the playbook. Well, then this move doesn't make any sense either. And if it was really about that and it was so urgent, you would have left in the winter portal window. You know why? Because there were a lot more suitable options. There were a lot more high-end options. There were more NIL dollars out there. Not only do you go to California, where you are taxed significantly more than what you've got in Tennessee, you're making less in NIL. You're making less money than you had at Tennessee. You're on a team that is not going to compete and is just trying to make a bowl game, for goodness sake. And you're going to a coach who doesn't have a proven track record of success in college football. A trifecta of negativity for Nico. That's where this is at. That's where this is always going. I give a lot of opinions on this show. That's kind of how the program works. A lot of you tune into that. I appreciate you for doing so. When I have an opinion that is incorrect, I'd like to think I come on here and say, yeah, I was wrong. I whiffed on this team. I was not right about that. This one, God, I think I hit the nail right on the head with it, that everything was going to get worse for Nico. He's now got a PR problem. He's got less money and a worse football situation. But like I said, hey, here's the good news for him. He's not going to be in the pressure of going to the horseshoe with a national championship run on the line in the playoff, because UCLA is not going to sniff the college football playoff. Heck, I don't know how long he stays at UCLA. That's an interesting thought experiment that we might explore some week here on the show. But I don't know that in his timeline for college, he's got 3 years of eligibility left if he wants it, that UCLA can become a contender in that time. Because it takes a while. It takes a while for the Bruins to go out and become a conference contender in a league that's legitimately good and is now deeper than any they've played in before, because there are just more teams that they've got to compete with, and there are a lot of really good programs in the Big Ten. Even when you go after the Ohio States and Michigans and Oregons and Penn States of the world, yeah, there are a lot of good programs that you have to climb past. It can be done. It's not going to be done quickly. So Nico's going to go for 1 year and hope to make UCLA a bowl team. FanDuel, I get where their heads are at. Maybe they're just trying to adjust for what people are thinking. They raised UCLA's win total from 4.5 to 5.5. Happy day, I guess, maybe. Tennessee's has dropped from 9.5 to 8.5. So in their view, Nico's about a 1-win player at the quarterback position. That's probably a fair assessment, quite frankly, depending on the situation you're in. He was in a great situation in Tennessee. You had a great defense. You had a great run game. You had great receivers. Which of those three things are you going to have at UCLA? Which of those three things is going to be anywhere comparable to what he just had in Tennessee? I don't know how much of this came from Nico, how much of this came from his camp, his dad, agent, other people. I do not know that information, so I'm not going to accuse one singular person. I'm going to blame the entire group because I suspect it was more than just one guy. Seems like his dad was pretty involved, but again, I'm just reading what other people wrote. This whole situation has made Nico's life worse. I can't think of a way in which it's gotten better. He's going back closer to home. All right, there's one way in which it's better. And maybe he didn't like the pressure, and I'm more of a pressure is a privilege sort of guy, of playing high-level college football games against Alabama at Knoxville with old Rocky Top blaring in the background. Maybe he didn't want to go to Athens anymore. Maybe he wanted to go to UCLA where they won't sell out the stadium, and he just wanted to play a little bit of football and see if he can improve his NFL draft stock. I don't know how you're doing that either. When you don't have as good of a situation around you, you're not going to look as good. And by the way, you're now learning a new offensive system after the first year was pretty rocky. It's all gone downhill. So the path to irrelevance in college football is well traveled at this point. It's not complete, but it's well traveled for Nico. He's a good ways down it. Is he going to stop being interesting? No. UCLA just got a lot more interesting. But for Nico, it's all gone downhill. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit me up on Twitter. All that good stuff. Oklahoma lost a 5-star. Then they didn't lose one of their highest rated recruits ever. So what is happening in Norman? Good things, it seems. First, this episode brought to you by Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trade. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands, you'll find exactly what you need, delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM. Start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Just a huge transfer announcement here. David Stone went in the transfer portal. Former 5-star plus defensive tackle. He left Oklahoma. And within 36 hours, he was back at Oklahoma. I mean, Jay Smith, Locked On Sooners. What are we doing here? Is this NIL leveraging at its finest? What happened?
It's bananas how the story kind of went down. We got it on a Friday night news dump, 8:40 something Central Time. So it was late for us, early for you, but it was late. So it was one of those, like, who's going to cover this? So me and John, of course, went live on Locked On Sooners. We recorded, talked about it. And it sounds like there was some things that was disgruntled in the situation. But the good thing that happened is things got squashed. Well, I saw a report over on 3. Pete Nakos went on with the Inside Scoop, and he basically said that it did not sound like it was an issue with playing time, internal things. It was some external factors that came up that caused this entire ruckus. Those external factors, I don't know. You can search on the good old Expert, and it'll tell you all kinds of conspiracy theories, but I'm going to be respectful and say it's some external situations. Well, it sounds like they figured it out. Sounds like David Stone did not want to leave. It sounded like some other things kind of made him have to go explore options. He didn't really explore them, and he came back Easter Sunday. So he went in. 3 days later, he rose back. Gotta love it, right?
That was an intentional use of the word rose back, wasn't it? That was, he's not accidental, folks. He's not accidental whatsoever. I mean, I think when most people hear external factors, Jay, they think he wanted a bigger NIL deal. And, some people, Nico, are not able to find a bigger NIL deal when they go elsewhere. Some people realize, the grass is not actually greener over there. Now, the reason that you and I had first touched base about this is that David Stone entering the portal, not just because of his recruiting profile, but because of what his timeline for playing time is looking like with that Oklahoma defense, was going to be is going to be now a pretty significant role. Like, it came as a shock to most people, myself included. I'm going, wait. David Stone just got there. What do you mean he's in the transfer portal? It was giving me Williams Nwaneri vibes, who transferred away from Missouri after 1 year. But this is, based on what you've told me, a pretty important piece for Oklahoma to have coming back.
He's an Oklahoma kid. He's from Dale City, Oklahoma, which is in the Oklahoma City Metroplex, just up the street, roughly 30 minutes from the University of Oklahoma. He's Sooner born, Sooner bred. He said, when I die, I'll be Sooner dead. Just one of the main statements that Sooner fans say. He is through and through a Sooner. And so when that happened, it felt like a knee-jerk reaction, like a panic type situation. And it could have been an NIL leverage portion, but it could also been just a kid freaking out about something and wanted to, like I said, external factors, and he jumped in there. The good thing is that he's back. That's all that matters. He is a key component for Oklahoma, too. I mean, think about it. Like I said, 5-star plus, one of the top players in the country coming out. Everybody wanted him. Miami was already licking their chops. They had that Birdman going. They're like, Stone's back in the portal? Let's get our money together. I mean, they just lost Horton that just bounced to Georgia. So they obviously need reinforcements on the defensive line, and Stone could have been a really good multi-year piece. Oklahoma saw the exact same thing. This is the year we expect for him to break out, because last season his partner from IMG Academy, Jaden Jackson, became a freshman All-American. He stepped into the role, already had the weight, and boom, shown out. So we know that David Stone has the potential. They worked great together. Now he needs to show it. And so Oklahoma did not want to have a situation. Jim Nagy, the general manager, said he didn't want a situation like Nico. This feels like a situation like Nico, but based upon what I've been told, it's not. It's more of a young kid panicking about something. I don't know what, but it's something. But Oklahoma figured out a way to get him taken care of. Maybe they gave him more money. Maybe they gave him more money up front. Maybe they adjusted things for July when the house settlement hits. I don't know. We haven't gotten any full details, but it sounds like he is now satisfied. His people are now satisfied, and they're ready to go into next year and make something happen.
So you mentioned Jim Nagy, the general manager, who we've discussed on this show previously. Do you think there was a heavy influence there? Because, I mean, the biggest example of a GM impacting a program is Andrew Luck at Stanford. That's the biggest example so far, where he comes in and says, we're not dealing with anything external for Troy Taylor here. Thanks for your time, but we're ushering you out the door. But we are seeing GMs all over the place start to pop up. You talk about Ron Rivera at Cal. You talk about his name's eluding me right
Lombardi
now.
at North Carolina.
That's certainly one of them. But USC hired a general manager from Notre Dame. He's making a big impact over there. So is this, you feel like something where Nagy stepped in and said, yeah, no, we want to keep this kid. This is not someone you want to just walk out the door?
It sounds like it's a combination of Nagy, Brent Venables, and Ty Bates, because if there's one thing that has been said about David Stone internally and externally is the dude is beloved. He works his butt off. He takes this very seriously. And when he hit in the portal, I heard that some of the players were advocating to the staff to say, hey, whatever he needs, we don't have a problem with you giving it to him. Please take care of him. Take care of David Stone. So that means that there was, like I said, there's got to be something bigger here that his teammates know about, because they were pushing for him to come out of the portal, to come back and be on the roster. That's how beloved he is. So it's obvious that Nagy came in, stepped in and said, okay, let's assess this entire situation and see what exactly is the problem, and let's find us a true solution. And the beauty of it is the maturity of a David Stone saying, I don't want to leave, so yeah, let's sit down and have this conversation. I really wish it never escalated to this point, but at the same time, we also dealing with 18-year-olds, right? I mean, he's 18, probably 19 now. We're dealing with kids. They kind of make a knee-jerk reaction. They do something, and then they step back and be like, okay, should I have done it that way? Should I have made this decision? Should I have stood on business this way? Maybe I should have stood on business that way. You learn quick when you get young and you as you grow up and you get that experience. So it feels like that's kind of what happened. They came back to the table. He went in the portal Friday night. They had a meeting on Saturday morning, and it sounds like they've been hashing things out all of Saturday into today. And then David Stone put out there that he was withdrawing from the portal. And then, of course, all the national stuff happened. So it sounds like maturity happened for him. He was willing to come sit down and have a good effort to actually get something done. And now Oklahoma Sooners kind of won a big deal with this by getting him back.
Something that exists in the NFL and hasn't made its way to college football yet, though it's slowly kind of drip, drip, drip permeating throughout the sport. It hasn't seeped into the carpet yet, but you're close to wanting to put a bucket over there with where this idea is at. When you have a situation like this, Jay, where there's a public discussion about this guy's leaving, doesn't want to go, he wants to do this and all that, does it raise the expectation level for that individual player in the eyes of the fan base or the coaching staff? Because when a guy signs as a free agent in the NFL and he gets a big contract, or if he, holds out, for instance, which is kind of what this is the college version of holding out of sort for more money. When you finally start playing, what do fans do? Anytime you struggle, it's, well, wait a minute, you held out and you're playing like this. Do you think that's where David Stone is now?
I think David Stone was already there being a 5-star plus. He's one of the few that Oklahoma has been able to land over the last couple of years since Brent Venables has been here, because Oklahoma has played in the NIL game, but they've also wanted to make sure they're going after guys that are willing to put in the work to go along with paying them the money. And they're very strategic about that. It may not be the way everybody does it or want to do it, but the hardest part about recruiting is that you are recruiting potential, and you have to hope that kids will actually give you the production. And so with Stone, I don't think this adds any additional pressure. I think he's already had the pressure because he's a 5-star plus. He is supposed to be starting. His counterpart, Jaden Jackson, was a 3-star recruit when he first got signed, when he first committed to Oklahoma, and then he moved up to 4-star depending on the recruiting services, became a freshman All-American. That can lean on you too, right? That's something that you see it. You're standing next to the dude. We were next to each other at IMG Academy, and this dude ended up a freshman All-American, and I got like 94 snaps. What's going on? So now the pressure's already been on him to make sure that he does the production he needs, because, as you mentioned, with Jim Nagy and a lot of these general managers, they're assessing the talent, and they're trying to figure out if the pay matches the production. If it doesn't, some people are seeing pay cuts. They're seeing a little bit of a haircut because of this house settlement coming down the line. So for them, it's we're going to cut you down. We're going to make you more incentive-based starting July 1, because we can now do that with rev share. you're going to have to produce. And I think David Stone has that idea in his mind, and he's going to go out there and try to make that happen.
Incentive-based contracts in college football. We're just not that far away. I mean, we're kind of already there, kind of. So,
I think it's showing up.
We're not at the NFL's level yet, but boy, it doesn't feel like we're that far away. We are always very close, though, to a good segment when we get Jay Smith around of Locked On Sooners. If we're not there every single time, and he mentioned Georgia, that's their SEC brethren, for those of you who forgot that nonsense happened a couple of years ago. And this may shock you, but they are gearing up to defend their SEC title. First, this episode brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena, and with Game Time, you can be a part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Game Time makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets, even when demand is sky high. Prices on the app actually go down as tip-off gets closer, and their last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. They've got last-minute deals that save you up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, whatever you are looking for. I've used Game Time for a variety of events. It works great every single time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. So the Georgia Bulldogs, the reigning SEC champion Georgia Bulldogs, it doesn't feel that way because they went into the playoffs, they kind of exited with a whimper. They got outplayed by Notre Dame pretty soundly. In that one, Carson Beck wasn't there. I didn't feel like that's what they were missing. I just thought Notre Dame was the better team. I thought they were better coached. They looked like they were the more physically imposing team, which is odd. That was an odd thing to see. I don't care if you're in an SEC championship game, a college football playoff game. Watching Georgia consistently get beat at the point of the attack is not something that I was used to seeing last year, that anybody was used to seeing, or that we should expect to continue to see. I think Kirby Smart's aware of what's going on. So they looked at Bo Atkinson, who's still in the transfer portal at the time of my recording of this show. He's one of the top defensive linemen available from North Carolina, coming off the edge. Dude is an absolute positive beast, but they've added a couple other guys to strengthen their front seven. And then we'll get to Josh McCray, because that might be the transfer addition that I like the most. But they bring in Elo Medozi, linebacker from Army, who through 2 seasons with the Black Knights just improved from year 1 to year 2. Now goes from a good coaching staff led by Coach Monken and company, Jeff Monken, that is, not Todd Monken, the former Georgia OC, now with the Baltimore Ravens. He goes to Kirby Smart in Georgia, where, let's just call it a great staff, shall we? Like, the fact that they won the SEC championship last year when it didn't feel like they had any business doing so, I think they're still a pretty darn good coaching staff. And that was a quote-unquote regression year. Again, testament to how good they are down there in Athens. But they bring over Medozi, who didn't have any, insane season. 6.5 sacks, 34 total tackles, PFF grade in the mid-70s. Really, really solid. Not necessarily a game changer, but again, these are the sorts of guys I think Georgia goes out and adds in this modern era of college football at a time where their depth maybe isn't quite what it used to be, because they've had guys transfer out and leave when in the past they would have had to stick around because they didn't have the option to transfer until they were a graduate. So Medozi's one guy they brought in. Then there's Josh Horton. Now, this is a high ceiling, low floor sort of addition from Miami. Going into his 3rd season of college football, Alex Dono of Locked On Canes, who knows as well as anybody, maybe better than anybody, breaks it down like this.
Defensive tackle Joshua Horton is leaving the Miami Hurricanes through the transfer portal. He's got 3 years of eligibility remaining, and Josh Horton has the physical tools and the makings of someone who can be a great defensive tackle at the college level. 6'4", he's over 300 pounds. The issue that Horton has had in Miami, true freshman year, redshirt freshman year that just finished in 2024, has been staying healthy and consistently being able to practice. Unfortunately, his inconsistent status, injury-wise, has really hurt his development and his ability to move up the depth chart, and it didn't seem as though Horton was anywhere near the top right now. So get the sense that this is probably a good move for both sides. And for Horton, he's got an opportunity now to find a landing spot, develop, and help another team win football games.
See what he said there at the end? Develop and help a team win football games. Kind of have a similar feel with those two guys defensively, but those aren't the players I'm even most excited about for Georgia here. Now, when Jaden Ott, the running back from Cal, entered the portal, he wound up at Oklahoma. I highlighted Georgia as a potential landing spot for him because of the glaring need at running back. Well, Georgia has now gone out and filled that running back void with Josh McCray, the running back from Illinois. Only had 600 yards or so this past year, which was the best of his career, but he's a 4-year player and a guy who is a big bruising back. So what was missing, I felt, from the Georgia offense last year was a consistent run game. By the way, I'm not the only one who has that opinion. It's pretty widely understood reality for the Bulldogs a year ago, which again is strange. You think about guys like Nick Chubb or Todd Gurley over the years. You can just keep going down the list of great Bulldog running backs. Not having an imposing running game isn't something they're really accustomed to. And so the ability for Georgia to get back to that is greatly aided by bringing in Josh McCray, who, again, veteran, been playing in the Big Ten, big bruising guy. Now you have a tandem. You have a tandem of Josh McCray, who's the hulking back, and then you have Nate Frazier, who I have loved, like many people, since he was coming out of high school, was highly recruited by a lot of different programs, wound up at Alabama, had a big day, made some explosive plays against Clemson in the season opener, and then the ground game wasn't always there. If that offensive line gets back to what we expect Georgia offensive lines to be, and you have these two guys as your running back tandem, I don't know that they're both going for 1,000 yards. That'd be asking a lot. They could both go for 700, and one of them could go for 1,000. I think that would probably be Frazier. I think McCray is a really good piece. Just proved at Illinois he can be one of, if not the top back in your rotation. I think Frazier's upside is more significant. He's a little bit more well-rounded, whereas McCray is a between-the-tackles sort of guy. He can hit the big play, but it's not necessarily what his specialty is. He's just a tough guy to tackle. He's always falling forward. You give him the ball on 3rd and 2, he's going to pick it up a lot more often than not. So I really like these moves for Georgia, particularly in the backfield, because if Gunnar Stockton winds up being the Bulldog starter this year, and he's got a running back tandem that features Josh McCray and Nate Frazier when fully healthy, and the offensive line takes a little step forward. Remember, they brought in Zachariah Branch from USC to try to help with their receiving woes. This is a Georgia team that you should once again, shocker, expect to be in the SEC championship picture. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time, and until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.